Hi there, welcome to Created in Awe with Joey Bailey here on YouTube. I am super excited. This is my first time to go live on YouTube. If you are catching this video after the fact, I do hope that you will stick around and see what we're doing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoy it, you will like and subscribe and come back and see more. We have a super fun project. I can't wait to do this with you. We are taking some scrap fabric that I have, and I'm going to talk about several different things you can use as your base for this project. And then we're going to add a stencil to it and make a cute little pillow, not a little one, it's a big pillow. For, you could put it anywhere. You could put it in your living room, you could put it on your bed, you could put it in a chair, wherever you like. You could even like maybe lean it up against your fireplace, wherever you would use this in your decor. It is definitely a vintage style. We are going to be doing some coffee stained fabric, and I'll tell you how I got that set up. And then we're going to do a real simple stencil. It's big. It's going to take a few minutes, but it's not hard to do. I'm going to pull some things up on my screen down here. Hopefully I can watch for comments. I see people coming in. Hello, Ms. Marlene and Anita. So good to see you come over to YouTube. If you are a YouTube watcher and you've not seen me on Facebook, I do hope that you'll go over there and check it out. I have a ton of videos of other projects that are stenciling and different kinds of crafting over there as well. So there it is. I'm going to see if I can actually, okay, I've got sound. I'm going to see if it will let me share it over to Facebook. I'm going to try that real quick. Let's just copy. I don't know if it's going to let me do the whole thing. So let's see if we can pop it over there. Tell me when you come in. Hi, Miss Debbie King. How are you tonight? Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you so much. Let's see if anybody wants to pop over after seeing that come up on the page. Thank you again for being here. Let's get started. Let's get started. Let me go back over to my YouTube screen. And I can hopefully watch there, now I can see the comments down there. Okay, good. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, let's talk about the fabric, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with it. There are different options for the base for this project, okay? So maybe you have an old pillow, like a bed pillow, for example. Don't we all have those old bed pillows that are just floppy and you're done with it, you can't use it anymore, but you don't want to get rid of it? You can use it, first of all, like use it for stuffing for other projects if you're going to make little pillows or if you're going to add stuffing to things. But you can actually use the pillow itself. So you can take it and like add some coffee stain to it to make it look even older, and it can look like one of these feed and seed sacks or old grain sacks or whatever you want to call it as well. Or you can use it to stuff inside of some fabric that you make to look like an old feed and grains or feed and seed sack. So let's talk about some options. What I have here, I'm actually going to be using some old painter's drop cloth, and I specifically bought it to use for crafting. It doesn't have old paint on it, thank goodness. If it did, I might have to work around that a little bit. But I bought a pack, I think it was a 2-pack, I can't remember, of painter's drop cloth from my local hardware store, and I prepared it a little bit to be able to use for crafting. So I took it, put it in my wash machine with, I don't think I put fabric softener in there, but I washed it and I fully dried it 2 times. And what that does is it takes all of that extra sizing, of course, out of the material, and it makes it much softer. So you don't have this really rigid, hard to manage piece of fabric, okay? And it's much less expensive than buying your fabric off the bolt at the fabric store. So that's one option, and that's what we're going to use. The other option is to buy your fabric. Like I've got, this is actually coffee stained canvas duck cloth that I get at Walmart. So you can buy it by the yard. And I'll tell you about how much you're going to need for this project. It doesn't come coffee stained, of course. I'll tell you how to coffee stain it here in a minute. But another idea I just had was something that I have in my craft stash because I like to do tea towels for seasons, for gifts, hostess gifts, you know, to add to birthday gifts, wedding gifts, all those kinds of things. And a lot of times the ones I like are at Walmart. It's this 2-pack of tea towels from Walmart. This Craft Basics is the brand, and it's 18 by 28 is the size. That's a nice large size, and it will fit the purpose. So you can actually use one of, or two. I would use two of these, one front and back, or put them together to be a full pillow, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So let's talk about how we coffee stain these. So this is how the painter, the canvas duck cloth started out. And this is how the painter's drop cloth started out. I told you I had already washed it twice. This is a scrap piece, but I coffee stained it. So all I do is I take instant coffee, which I actually have right over here. And I can't tell you how much, because basically it's whatever you like. You're going to add probably, for this, the amount of water that you would need for a large piece of fabric, probably a 1/4 cup of your instant coffee to a couple of cups of warm water. It doesn't have to be hot, it just needs to be warm enough to make it dissolve, okay? And you're just going to soak the fabric in it however long you want. It could be 10 minutes if you want it to be a light color. It could be a couple of hours. Heck, you could soak it overnight if you want to. And then you're just going to wring it out and lay it out on, I would say, put it on a cookie sheet. Pretty large cookie sheet. Doesn't have to be perfectly folded. In fact, this was not perfectly folded. I intentionally wrinkled this up because as it bakes, that looks really dark. Other parts of it are not as dark. It will take on a almost burnt look in the oven, 200 degrees, and you just have to watch it closely until the fabric is majority of the way dry. So, you know, it could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour, depending on how much fabric you have in there. And you can do the same thing with any kind of fabric that you want to coffee stain. These are just some examples. And I would do the tea towels this way also. So we are going to be using the painter's drop cloth for two reasons. I like the color of it. You notice how the duck cloth took on a more yellow tone. I really wanted a more muted color, so I'm going to use the painter's drop cloth. And it's a little more rough texture, and it's like the perfect size, just the scrap piece that I had. So let me get these out of the way, and we will start working with this fabric, and I'm going to show you what we're doing. We are going to, let's measure this because I didn't before. So you can see it's literally just a scrap piece of fabric. This is exactly how it was when I coffee stained it. I could have, you know, I was expecting I was going to like rip pieces off of it to use for other projects, and I just hadn't grabbed it to do that with yet. So let's see how long this is. I'm actually going to fold it in half to make it a little easier for me to measure. Hope you guys are doing well this evening. This is kind of, I hope you don't mind how nervous I am. First time going live here on YouTube. I do it all the time on Facebook. You know, it's not necessarily, you know, not nerve-wracking on Facebook, but this is a little more for me to handle, so apologize if I fumble over my words, if I don't pay attention to comments, or if I miss something along the way. And I can promise you I'll probably drop something. Okay, so this is 21.5 inches, so 43 inches in full length, and then the width of it is 14.25 inches wide. And the reason this is perfect, I'm going to show you the stencil that we're going to put on it. Is Christina here from Rust Covered Cottage? I'm so glad to see you. We were just talking earlier. Look at the perfect size on this. Can you see it where you are? I don't know if you could. My screen cuts things off, but over here it looks like you can see the whole thing. So this is a 12 by 18 size stencil. So we have a nice extra amount of space around it for the fabric so that this is just an image on the fabric. So we're going to take this scrap piece of fabric. I'm going to turn it into a pillow. I'm not going to stuff it yet, but we're going to turn it into a pillow that we can use hot glue to seal up and not have to sew. You can definitely sew this if you want to. My sewing machine's broken. It has been for a couple of years now, and I don't know if I am willing to go have it fixed right now. So I tend to use fabric hot glue when I want to make my own pillows or if I want to do stuffies. So that's what we're going to use tonight, and we're going to stencil it after I do some gluing, because the ink will be wet when I stencil it, and it'll be harder for me to handle the fabric. So let's do the gluing first, and then I'll show you the stenciling process. Oh, Marcia, thank you so much. Thank you, I appreciate you. See, I'm already dropping stuff. I think that was a pair of glasses, and I think it, no. Okay, my favorite pair is right here, so I'm gonna put that in front of me so I don't knock it off the table. All I'm gonna do, you can see how this is all rough on the edges, which is exactly what I want for our vintage look. I am going to just glue right up the two sides, and I need to decide what I'm gonna do with the top. I don't know if I want it to be rolled down at the top. We have room for that. Or if I want to leave it up and just kind of a little bit gapped open at the top. I think I want to roll it down. I think I do. So if I were to roll it down, let's take a look at where we're going to center our stencil to make sure I have as much room as I want to have. Oh, something else. I'm dropping other stuff. Something else I forgot to mention with the instant coffee. When you go and to put your fabric in the oven, something you can do is actually sprinkle on some extra grounds of the coffee into the wet fabric, and it will create more dark spots if you want it to show even more age and look more grungy and vintage. So that's just another tip. I didn't do that with this, but that is something you can do. And I know Christina does a lot of coffee staining of fabric, so she knows what I'm talking about. All right, so we do have a perfect amount of space for this design if I roll down the top, and that's about an inch roll down, so that will work. Let's go ahead and glue the edges. So I'm just going to roll this back. I have it lined up. I have no clue how I ended up with this exact piece of fabric, but it's going to work out perfect. So I'm just going to roll this back a little bit, and I'm going to glue I'm going to start up here at the top edge so that these are even. I'm not gluing all the way at the top. Can you see that? I'm going to come down about an inch where that roll is going to be, and then I'm going to glue all the way down. And then wherever it meets up at the end is where it meets up. So let's start. Miss Peggy is here. How are you doing tonight? Okay. So I'm going to roll that down so I know where I want to start. So I'm going to start my glue right there. Okay. And this is a pretty hot glue tool, because I have had this for years and years and years. So this glue should stay nice and soft for me to get a nice long row of glue. So let's line this up, and I'm just going to gently pat because it's so hot until it cools a little bit. Okay, it's pretty cool now as I'm working with it. And I can slide this down, and we're going to keep going. Super easy to get this glued. So tell me, guys, would you prefer to sew your pillows, or do you prefer to use the glue method like I'm doing? I'm curious, because I feel really silly sometimes, the fact that I glue my fabric to make these things, but it's just so much easier. All right, go all the way down to the fold and get that. And if your glue is hot like mine, you can definitely use some little finger protectors if you have those. Okay, I'm going to flip it over so we can do the other edge the same way. Let's see how much we're going to roll this down. And I want to make sure I keep it as even as I can, but you know what? It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's going to be vintage looking, right? So let's get a nice long row. And I think I'm getting this glue closer to the edge than I did on the other side, but that's okay. Oh, my stomach's starting to growl. I hope you can't hear that. I've put off dinner. We are going to be going to grab a bite of dinner after this. My husband's downstairs watching TV saying, "How long are you going to be?" And I said, "Oh, this is going to be a quick one." We'll see. We'll see. Okay. There we go. I think we are good. All right. That's all I'm going to do to start with. I'm going to leave the top wide open so that I want to do this side. It's not quite as dingy. See how dingy that side is? You're not going to see the image very well. So I want to do this side here. So this is going to be the front of our pillow. But I want to make sure I've got that rolled down so I can line up my stencil. And I know a lot of you I'm seeing here live, you like to use the glue, but sometimes you sew. Okay, yeah. I know that sometimes I like to hand sew. You could do a hand stitch and it would look very vintage that way. I don't want to take the time. I like to do fast crafting. So I'm going to get my stencil out. I know several of you here live have seen me do stenciling with these supplies before. This is from Magnolia Design Co. I am a creator with them, and that's why I demonstrate a lot of my crafts, is so I can show you some ideas to use with their supplies. If you've never seen Magnolia before, please let me know in the comments you're new to it. I have a group on Facebook that you can join that gives you all the ins and outs about Magnolia products and how to use them, and you know what's coming out for this season and all that. So this is actually one of our brand new stencils that just released for customers this week. It's called Feed and Seed. Right? Feed and Seed. It's a 12 by 18 stencil. It is vinyl. It's adhesive on the back, so it's very, very sticky. And it has a layer of mesh over the top that holds all of the intricate designs together. And something fairly new. We haven't done a lot of this in the past. This is fairly new for some stencils that just came out recently. It has a very distressed look. They've done some in the past, but I'm seeing more of it now than before. So if you look at the word seed, for example, you can see little bits of that vinyl within the letters. Same thing, where is it? Well, just in the way that the lines are created for like the little postal marks, and of course in the chicken itself. And also where it says quality organic products, you can actually see it's green, but it has little white dots where they pulled some of the vinyl out so that it looks aged and distressed. So it's going to lend really perfectly to this design. And I need to put my glasses on so I can see the little bitty words down here. You shied away from hot glue after burning. Oh, Anita, I'm sorry, hon. Sew. Just sew it. Make me feel better that you're not going to hurt yourself. So we're going to use ink tonight, and I need a little bit of help deciding some things. If you know me, you know that I have a hard time deciding colors, okay? I know a lot of the old feed and grain or feed and seed sacks have both like blue or browns or blacks and reds or grays, and I mean just combinations of colors. Some have yellow, some have, you know, all different colors. So what I picked out was some red and some black, and it's not a solid black, it's called glittering black because it has more of a pewter, a little bit of a charcoal look to it, and I love this. I love this one a lot. I know Anita knows that. Peggy, you know too. But I thought I would pull out along with it our glittering red. And it's not that I want it to look glittering, it's that I want it to have a softer look, and that's kind of what these colors are like rather than the solid. So I'm just going to compare for you. These are the two similar colors. See how this has a little iridescent, but it's also just a little bit softer than the solid red. Same thing with the black. If you look at the two black tones, so the solid is definitely nice and dark, and this is much of a softer look. So that's what we're going to go for. But I don't know where I'm going to put the red. My initial thought was to do the banners, the two banners in red, and possibly try to come in and do the postal marks in red as well. What do you think of that? Like we could do this whole area of postal marks here and here and here with the stamp in red, and then do the banners in red. Been using Fabri-Tac. Oh, Anita, I need to look at that. I haven't looked at that in a long, long time. So while you're thinking about colors with me, I just now realized I had set something over here to show you an option. If you don't want to make this a pillow, if you want it to hang on the wall, you can do a couple of things. And I actually pulled out a painter's stir stick. This is just the little 1 gallon size. It's a good size for this. I would suggest not putting this on the outside, but when you fold it down, let me move that so I don't knock my hot glue off the table. Tuck this inside, okay? and it should fit right inside underneath the flap. Glue it right to the fabric. Now you could just do a single layer in this case if you want to, or you could go ahead and do the double layer. Glue it in there and tie your string around this stick. Hide it in there so it's glued all the way and you can't see it. Tie your string that you're going to hang it from to that stick, and then you have something inside that is keeping it from doing this, right? If it's glued to it, then it's going to hold it rigid up at the top, but it's still going to kind of be soft at the bottom. And it's going to be nice and straight the way it hangs. You like the colors, Peggy? Okay, I think I like that too. But I'm going to make this a pillow. I mean, I may change my mind, but we're going to start out making it a pillow. I'm going to tuck inside of here a big old piece of cardboard that I have. You can also use a, I mean, heck, you could use a lot of different things. But cardboard is nice and rigid. It's going to hold its shape. What else was I thinking? I also tend to use parchment paper. Something on the inside that is going to keep that ink from going all the way through the fabric and getting through to the other side. It probably wouldn't happen because this fabric's so thick, but just in case, I'm putting that in there to be careful with it. Another like happenstance, this piece of cardboard was like a perfect fit. I don't know how that happened. It was meant to be, huh? Okay, I keep rolling this down. I don't want to glue it yet, but I keep rolling it down so I can center up my stencil. So I'm going to pull the stencil off of this white backer carrier sheet. I'm just going to put my finger along the edge of it, and I just pull toward myself, and it grabs hold of that stencil, and I can pull it off. Now be careful this doesn't fold over and stick to itself. You really want to make sure it lays flat. I know this is the wrong side. We're going to flip it over, but I wanted to lay it out here first, and then I'm going to flip it over. So let's get a hold of it carefully, flip it over, and I'm going to work with my placement. I take a minute, I can move it around, I can move it up, I can move it down, whatever I need to do to get it. I don't want it too far down because this pillow, of course, is going to need kind of an area to sit on, right? So it's going to take some of that fabric. So I think I'm going to move this up a little bit so that it has that extra, and then we can still see the design, if you know what I mean. That's why I saved it. You know, that's exactly why. It was meant to be. So I'm going to slide this up a little bit so that I think my words are going to come right underneath that where the fabric folds. I'll just fold right up to that design, but let's center it side to side as well. I don't think I quite had it centered, so I'm just going to continue as I need to. Lift this up, lay it back down until I'm happy with it. Make sure this is lining up where I want. Okay, now that it is, I can unfold that. I really don't want extra like lumps and bumps underneath. I want it to be as smooth as possible. So I'm going to start, I've unfolded that, I'm going to start here in the center and smooth this down to stick to the fabric now that I have it where I want it. Doesn't have to be perfect, it can still be crooked, it's going to be a nice vintage look. Make sure my cardboard, and slide it up so it can come right up to the edge of this design. My cardboard is beyond my design, so I won't have like a ridge that I fall over and makes a line when I'm stenciling. So let's go back, and we're going to make sure everything is pressed into this fabric. Typically, I don't recommend using painter's drop cloth if you want a crisp, clean image, okay? There's a whole lot of texture, and your stencil will stick to it, but it can't always go into the texture. So you're going to get some kind of maybe blurry areas. You might have a little bit of bleed under from your ink. It's just going to happen because of the texture of the fabric. But take every step you can to make sure your stencil sticks all the way down in all of the little areas that you can along the way. Okay, there we go. Making sure if I see like a shadow underneath. Now it might be the color of the fabric, but if I see a shadow underneath, I'm pressing it down some more. Okay, Now, when we apply our ink, these glittering inks tend to be a little bit thinner sometimes. So I'm going to start with a small amount and then I can add to it if I need to. So let me grab a couple of squeegees, one for each color. And my glasses. So, hi Janice, hi Tammy. So you guys are thinking okay with the red on just the stamp area and the banners. So I'm actually going to start, I'm going to work in segments. I have a fan on and sometimes that tends to make my ink dry a little faster than I work. So if it starts to look like it's drying, I will need to make sure to lift up the stencil so it doesn't dry in this mesh layer, okay? So we're going to work in sections. I'm going to start up here and kind of work to my right. So we're starting with our glittering black. I'm going to go ahead and open up my red and let's get it stenciled. So start with the glittering black. This is going to be so cool. Don't want too much. Okay, I'm going to get an amount on here just to start with. You can see just a little bit. I put it on this beveled edge. If you haven't seen me stencil before, what I'm going to do is take this and spread it across. It's fairly thick. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to spread it across and I'm not going to press really hard. I'm not going to press so hard that the squeegee bends backward. I will just very gently be spreading this across the fabric, across the stencil to get the ink laid on it. If it's not going through the mesh, then I'll give it a little more pressure, okay? So be careful. If you've not stenciled on fabric before, try with a scrap piece of fabric so that you can understand how much pressure to give. I kind of liken it to buttering a piece of soft bread. You're not going to press so hard that you dig that bread and make it clump up and crumble on you, right? You're going to do it fairly gently. So start with a gentle application. Okay, so I'm just gently putting this across. I can see it's going into the mesh, not completely, so I'm going to come back and add a little more pressure. I'm going to do just these words up above the banner with this color. Now I'm going to start up against, oops, I already got it on myself, up against where I'm changing colors, and I'm going to move back away from that. Got a lot there. And there is a glare from the glittering aspect of this ink, so I have to look at it very carefully. Okay, I have too much on there, so I'm going to come back and squeegee off my excess. Okay, I'm just very gently, I'm kind of coming up at a little more of a 90-degree angle to take off the excess. I don't want it to be super thick. Okay, let's get right up to that line. Okay, so it's applied now. I'm going to go ahead and do the red, and after I get that banner done, I'm going to check and see how it's looking and probably have to start peeling my stencil off so it doesn't dry. Let's go ahead and get a different squeegee so I can go back and forth easy with my colors. And I'm going to go this direction, right up against where that glittering black is, and come this way. So I'm going to get some of this excess as I go. Just gently applying it. Get a little bit more there. There we go. And let's come back this way because those words are going to be in the glittering black. This is going to be in red, but I'm still only going to do this in sections. I hope you can see this well enough. Okay, we've got it all applied. Let's go through and clean off the excess without getting on the other words. I'm going to come back. All right, now let's start to peel it back and see what we're looking like. Make sure you don't have ink on your fingers because you'll get it on your fabric where you don't want it to be. That's dry. So I'm going to start to peel this back. If I see it's not coming through heavy enough, I'll just go back and apply it again. So let's pull. And remember, some of these words are going to have a distressed look. Okay, I didn't give enough pressure. I can see that, so let's just go back with another application of the ink, and I'm pressing just a little bit harder this time. If I press too hard, it could still bleed out. So I'm just giving a little more pressure, just going to go back over all of it. Because I do want it distressed, but I don't want it to be totally missing parts that I want to be able to read. All right, clean off my fingers, and let's go back. You can see my D is a little bit light right there still. That's better. Now this is the distressing coming through. That's what we want. Whoop, I missed part of my word on here. Okay, so my red is also fairly light. Let me come back with some more red on my banner. I can see it just needs to be pressed, a little more pressure to go through the mesh. A little more pressure. And then once I know that this is applied right, I know what I need to do to get this ink through to the fabric. Each kind of fabric might work a little differently for you. And then we can do the rest of it. So let's see if we can. That's looking better. That's looking better. Still missed a few spots, but actually I'm going to leave that because I like that distressed look. Can you see it? Oh, thank you, Anita. Thank you for spreading it out there, Miss Peggy. I keep wanting to say Pam. I see your initials on there and it's so different from Facebook. Now that I've got enough ink on my hands that it might be a problem, I'm going to get a disinfecting wipe here. You can use a baby wipe to clean your hands off, or a wet water wipe, whatever you use, but I don't want to gum up the rest of everything with the ink. Okay, now we know what we're doing, so let's press the parts of the design that I have not yet stenciled back down. This is going to be black. We got red going here, here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out my placement. I'm not doing my chicken yet until we get there. So let's just do these areas and then we'll get into the chicken. We'll get into that chicken here in just a minute. I'm going to do some of the black on here. Make sure it's pressed into the fabric. Now remember, I know now I can give it a little more pressure, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Some of your fabrics, especially your thin ones, cannot handle a lot of pressure. So test that out. And like I said, I don't do a whole lot of the ink on this fabric because of the texture. So it took a minute to figure out what I wanted to do. That's it on the black there. I'm gonna go ahead and go with it. Make sure I didn't miss any parts. Okay. And we're gonna switch over to the red, and I'm gonna do just this area of the postal marks, I guess you'll say. Do you call this the carte postale style because it has the postal mark on it? I don't know. Whoops, I got a little bit of red on my chicken. That's okay. He's going to end up being the glittering black. You know what? I'm going to go on in to this area too. And get right up next to my chicken and come back away from it. Back away from the chicken. Oops, got a little on his tail. Got to pay attention to what I'm doing. It's okay. I don't expect perfection on this. That's why I do vintage style, so that I kind of let myself off the hook when it comes to making it perfect, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and lift. Oh, got caught on my fingernail. Lift, and then we'll start with the chicken. Something that helps too, I can take this stir stick and hold my fabric down, and then I can pull away from it a little bit easier. Oh, it's looking good. Missed a little bit, but that's okay because we're going with that vintage look. There. Okay, I'm going to lay this back down so that I can get, there goes the hot glue. I told you I was going to drop it. Come here. Hold on. I can't let the hot glue get all over the carpet. Okay, now, straighten this back out. Smooth my stencil down where that chicken needs to be inked, and then we'll apply the ink to that. Okay, it's looking good so far, right? You like it, Christina? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little bit of red here. The rest of this is going to be the black. Let's go ahead and go in with the glittering black and make sure it's pressed down so we get as crisp of an image as we can. It's not going to be perfect, but we are going to get pretty close. Okay, I need quite a bit of ink to get this whole darn chicken done. Get these edges. I just got some of the postal marks, but it is what it is. I'm getting a little sloppy. I do that when I'm excited and I want it to be done. I need to slow down. Slow down. Let's get its tail. You could do your chicken red too if you wanted to. I just wanted it to stand out away from these little postal marks that are right here next to it. I wanted a little contrast there. Okay, let's get some of this cleaned up. Get the back of the chicken's neck. Make sure I've got all of him. I haven't done all of his feet yet. I'll come back and do his feet. Still need a little bit more. Okay, let's get his feet all the way. Okay. Oh, I want to go ahead and do these words over here too while I'm here. These are going to be black also. So guys, I need you to tell me in the comments. I see several of you who follow me over on Facebook. What do you think about watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook? I want to know your preference. I know a lot of you say you watch both. I want to do more here on YouTube. So tell me what you would like to see. What kind of projects, all of that. And if you're on replay, I want to hear from you too. Okay, I think I've got everything applied. We're coming down to the next red section, so I think that's where I'll stop and check and smooth out my excess. Make sure we are all evenly applied. I haven't missed anything. I'm getting right over it, guys. I hope I don't get my shirt in it. Okay, I think we're going to go with that. Clean off my fingers. Thank you, Peggy. Okay. Holding it down and pulling. Okay, I did not get his little head pressed down very well. We got a lot of bleed through. So, that's okay. I think it's okay. What do you think? His feet look good. And his tail looks good. I think we're going to go with that. That's not too bad. You'll get more detail when you press it down onto a smooth surface like painted wood. Okay? Okay, let me press back down. These areas we're going to stencil next. Got ink on my finger. Oh, thank you, Peggy. You are so sweet. I am so glad that you came over here to see what we're doing tonight. Okay, now I can lay this down, get it unstuck from my fingers. Keep getting ink on me when I lift that up. Some of it's dry. Okay, let's go ahead and get this pressed down so we can try to get some crisp lines and go back to our glittering red. Do this area first. And I could come back and try to touch up some things on our chicken, but I don't remember exactly where it needed more ink, so I'm just going to leave it. I could, if I wanted to. I could come back and do some more. And if I take the whole stencil off and later decide I wanted to fix something, I could lay it back down after everything is dry and the stencil has been washed, and I can add more ink. Can't take it back off, not ink, but you can add to it. This is getting a little bit gummy, so I'm going to have to be careful that I don't have ink on my fingers when I go to lift my stencil. I can feel the wet ink on me, so I got to be careful with that. Okay, we've got this applied. Let's go back and get our excess. Whoops, I missed a spot there, I can see. And there. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, I think we've got it. I'm going to go ahead and do the black on the bottom. That's not going to take very long, so we don't have to worry about another lift and lay down. The feedstock colors would be highly distressed. You are so right. You are so right. So this is going to be super quick and easy. Just make sure I don't miss the tops of any letters or the bottoms of them. I don't know why that tends to be my, where I make mistakes is I miss the tops or bottoms of letters. So I gotta check along the way. Right there. Alrighty. Oh, and there's the bottom of a letter. All right. So this time I'm gonna lift from the bottom up. And this is it. We've got it. Clean off my fingers. Because this is all loose here, I want to get this part loose. So let's bring our little stir stick down here. Can you see this end? Hold it down here. I'm going to get it loose all the way across so that I can lift it back. I want to do it slowly so that I can fix something if I really messed it up or missed it. Nope, it's looking pretty good. Ta-da! Okay, make sure this lifts all the way off. Don't let it fold. I have a tub of water here. I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to do it so that it folds with all of the regular vinyl and mesh together, not the sticky side together. So this time I'm going to put my sticky side down in here, which I don't normally do, but I'm going to make sure it gets all wet so it won't stick to the bottom. It's all wet. And then I'm going to fold it over, not the sticky sides together, but the top side together, and get it all the way down in the water. The reason I do this, if you haven't seen this before, is because I need to wash everything off of the stencil before it dries. That ink will be very difficult to remove if I let it dry first. So I keep it in water until I can get it to a big enough sink to lay it out and clean it, okay? And one of these days I will do a video showing you how I clean the stencils. I've done a lot of those on Facebook. Okay, let me show you this real quick. We've got the cardboard inside. Look at that! Oh my gosh, isn't it so cute? It's so cute. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It's very wet. Don't touch anything until it's dry. You can use your dryer if you have one of the heat guns or if you have a hair dryer to make that dry faster, or you can leave it overnight, which is really what I typically do. I'll leave it for at least a couple hours or overnight to let it completely dry. And then it has to be heat set. So you will have to come to it with an iron at either a cotton setting or a medium setting with no steam and no water, parchment paper over the top, And I could just leave the cardboard underneath. Or I can put parchment paper underneath. And I iron over it for 4 full minutes. Okay. This is actually a very large design, so I would probably add about a minute to that whole process because I'm going to be moving the iron back and forth and back and forth. If you have a heat press, thank you, Debbie, then you can use your heat press at a temperature setting of 305. And you will set it for 30 seconds and then move to another section for 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, depending on the size you have, okay? Aw, thank you, Christina. So then after that, you know, it's fully dry but by the time you're ready to iron it. Once you've ironed the top side of it, you're going to turn this wrong side out, okay? So in that case, it will probably be easier for you to not have it have your sides glued first, but I wanted to do that for demonstration. That'll be easier to turn it wrong side out. Then you'll iron over this on the wrong side for your full 4 or 5 minutes. Don't iron over your hot glue, you'll soften that up, okay? So what you'll do, I'm going to go ahead and pull my cardboard out. Look at that, we didn't have any ink go through, so we're good. And you can stuff this. And like I said, if you have a pillow that is old and is soft and you want to put the whole pillow inside, and then you can take that pillow out so you can wash this if you want to. I almost knocked this off again. Or you can just stuff it and be good with it. And then glue it shut at the top. Remember, we're going to fold down this top edge. Okay. So I have some stuffing. I think I will go ahead and put some inside so that you can see what it's going to look like. I'll be taking this back out again so I can iron it. This is just regular old polyfill, and I'm not going to worry too much about it being nice and soft. It needs to be lumpy, right? It's going to be a feed sack or a grain sack. So let's go ahead, because I can easily take it back out. I just don't want my fabric to fold over on itself. That ink is wet and it will smear. So let me just pull this apart a little bit. Shove this down so we can get an idea. I actually don't think I want it that full. So I'm going to separate this a little bit inside. Now tell me, whoops, I just touched the ink. Are you thinking you'd rather have a pillow like this, or would you hang it on the wall? Would you put the paint stir stick inside at the top and hang it on the wall? Because I think either way is going to be really cute. I love the idea of it being stuffed like a grain sack would be. And you can set it on, I'm going to set it against my fireplace. You like the pillow? Oh, use a pillow insert. See, somewhere around here I have an old pillow. I've misplaced it. Heck, I don't know. Maybe I used it for stuffing already. Just somewhere in my mind I'm thinking, I've got a pillow in here somewhere I need to find. See if it will fit in here. And then I can take it back out. And what you can do at the top in that case is put some Velcro. I'm off the screen, sorry. You can put some Velcro in the top so that you can open it back up again and take your pillow insert out. You can get Velcro at any of your craft stores, or you can get it at your fabric stores. And again, you can still glue it right up at that top edge. That's another option. Okay, let's see how we're looking. What do you think? Now what do you think? Oh my goodness. I think it's so cute. Does it look like a feed and seed sack? Doesn't it? Doesn't it look like a real vintage one? I think so. I think I need a little more stuffing down here in the corner, but now I've given myself a little bottom so it can sit up and I can still read it. I'm so stinking excited about this. You like it as a pillow? I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So, and I will definitely glue it so that it's folded down. And I personally might go ahead and do the Velcro so that I can take that back out and change whatever I put inside of it. Oh, thank you, Tammy. I appreciate you all for being here. You all are awesome. My first YouTube live. I was so nervous. But I'm really glad how this came out. So I will be gluing this shut after I do all of my ironing of my project. And I will get a picture of it. And I'll be posting this over on Facebook. If you guys want to come by and see what we're doing, it's just called Created in Awe. I can put a link in the description. I didn't do that. But there is a link in the description to the stenciling supplies. You're going to look for the stencil called Feed and Seed. And the inks we used were glittering black and glittering red. Those are on my website. Now, it depends on when you see this about availability. But you can get your painter's drop cloth at your hardware stores, Walmart even, or you can even from Walmart get your canvas duck cloth or your fabric stores if you'd rather use that. Or, like I said, you can use these tea towels and glue 2 of them together and it will do the same thing. And you can coffee stain that as well. So if you missed anything, go back and watch the beginning on replay. Appreciate you being here. Let me know if you have questions and I hope that you will come back. I'm hoping to do a live every week. I will be posting the schedule for that over on my Facebook page. Need to get the stencil. I think you do, Christina. I think you need to make something like this. You guys have a great night. I am going to head out to dinner and I will check back with you soon.